Duke basketball has, for several years now, been known for pulling in absolutely elite and star-studded high school recruiting classes. Look through any of their recent recruiting hauls and you will see a boastful amount of 4- and 5-star talents and several players that have gone on to be star players in the NBA. With this in mind, however, one of the seemingly more forgotten Duke recruiting classes was their class from 2017, a class which featured 7 recruits in total, 4 of them being 5 stars, the most notable of which being the #1 player in the country. On paper, this seems like another strong Duke recruiting class that we've all gotten used to, but looking back years later, this 2017 class is infamous in the eyes of many for being perhaps the most disappointing one in program history. So with that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at every recruit from this 2017 class and analyzing how they performed during their time at Duke and also how their basketball careers went after college. All this in an effort to answer the question, is this really the most underwhelming Duke recruiting class of all time? If you enjoy this type of content and want to see more, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more sports content. Now without any further delay, let's get started. Starting things off with the lower rated recruits and then building up to the more highly touted ones, up first is the guard out of Norcross High School, Jordan Goldwire. Per 24/7 Sports, Jordan was rated as a 3-star recruit and the number 70 shooting guard in the country. In his final season at Norcross, he helped lead his team all the way to the Georgia State Championship behind averages of 12 points, 8 assists, and 2 steals a game. Believe it or not, Jordan actually didn't attract many big-name colleges during his recruiting process, with most of the interest coming from mid-major programs like Eastern Kentucky, Coastal Carolina, and Towson, before he eventually landed his offer from Duke. And upon joining the Blue Devils, Jordan would end up spending a majority of his freshman and sophomore seasons on the bench, seeing very limited minutes. However, moving into his junior year, he was finally able to make his way into the rotation, bumping up to over 20 minutes a game and even starting 15 games. He never proved to be a major focal point or go-to guy on the team, so his numbers weren't anything spectacular, but he was contributing nonetheless, particularly on the defensive end. And this would be replicated in his senior season, serving a very similar role and putting up almost identical numbers. Following his senior season, Jordan would utilize his last year of eligibility, transferring to the University of Oklahoma. And during his 5th and final college season with the Sooners, he'd serve a bigger role than ever, putting up double-digit scoring numbers for the first time. At the conclusion of the year, Jordan would declare for the NBA draft, going undrafted, and has since bounced around to various different G League teams and overseas leagues. Most recently, he was signed by the Greensboro Swarm of the G League, but was waived at the start of November. And as of this video, it's currently unknown where he'll be playing next. For the next recruit in this 2017 class, we've got another shooting guard with Alex O'Connell out of Milton High School. O'Connell was rated as a 4-star recruit, number 18 shooting guard, and the number 100 ranked player overall in the class. Alex is known for being a dead-eye shooter from 3, as well as in the mid-range, and with Duke's history of having a long lineage of elite shooters, it seemed like the perfect fit. So despite boasting other impressive offers from the likes of Syracuse, Louisville, and Auburn, he turned them all down and signed with the Blue Devils. But similar to just discussed Jordan Goldwire, Alex wouldn't really see much action his first few collegiate seasons. Up through his junior year, he averaged around 10 to 15 minutes a game, serving in the role of being the team's primary sharpshooter off the bench. But following his junior year, Alex opted for a change of scenery, entering the transfer portal and eventually landing with the Creighton Blue Jays. And after a disappointing and COVID-riddled senior season, he would return for his 5th year, where he finally settled in as the starting shooting guard, putting up career highs of 11 points and 5 rebounds a game. At the conclusion of his collegiate career, Alex would declare for the draft and go undrafted. In the following years, he would play in both the G League as well as professionally in Italy, and as of now is signed with the Westchester Knicks of the G League. Moving on now, we've got the forward out of Wheeler High School, Jordan Tucker. In the 2017 class, Jordan was rated as a 4-star recruit, the number 13 small forward, and 55th ranked player overall. Due to his elite shooting and high versatility, he was seen as a very high upside prospect, which led to him being recruited by almost every big-name college in the country, totaling 24 offers in total. He would of course decide to sign with the Duke Blue Devils. However, his time at Duke would end up being very short-lived, as he would transfer out after just 1 semester due to limited playing time. He'd eventually find his way over to the Butler Bulldogs, where he would receive the additional minutes he was looking for. He'd go on to play 2 seasons with Butler, where he was a decent contributor but also highly inefficient, shooting just 35% from the field during his time there. Nonetheless, following his junior season, Jordan would make the decision to forgo his remaining eligibility and declare for the NBA draft. This was certainly a very risky move for him given his lack of production in college, and unfortunately the risk wouldn't pay off as he'd go undrafted, but he would be quickly picked up by the Windy City Bulls of the G League. And after a couple seasons in the G League and never getting a call up to the NBA, Jordan would take his talents internationally, playing for different leagues in Macedonia, Bulgaria, and France. Most recently though, Jordan now finds himself back in the US playing in the G League as a member of the Delaware Bluecoats. Up next, we have yet another shooting guard in this 2017 Duke class with Gary Trent Jr. out of the basketball powerhouse Prolific Prep. For 24/7 Sports, Trent was rated as a 5-star recruit, the 3rd-ranked shooting guard, and number 17 player in the whole class. He proved to be one of the most well-rounded scorers in the class, averaging over 31 points a game alongside 6 rebounds and 3 assists per game. And the fact that he was doing this on a prolific prep squad that consistently plays some of the best competition in high school basketball made those averages look even more impressive. Despite receiving strong interest from all the top schools in the country and taking official visits to Michigan State and UCLA, Trent would go on to sign with the Blue Devils. And similar to just discussed Jordan Tucker, Trent's time at Duke would be pretty short, however, it'd be for a completely different reason, as Trent would immediately establish himself as one of the best players in college basketball his freshman season, putting up averages of 14 points and 4 rebounds a game and shooting 40% from 3. Because of his impressive production and shooting skill set, Trent's name began popping up as a potential prospect of the 2018 draft, and thus would declare after just 1 season at Duke. He'd go on to be selected in the 2nd round with the 37th pick by the Sacramento Kings, but was shortly after traded to the Portland Trail Blazers. And after seeing steady growth his first couple seasons, Trent would be traded yet again to the Toronto Raptors, where he would break out and establish himself as one of the better 3-and-D players in the NBA. His peak would come in the 2021 season, where he averaged 18 points a game. However, ever since then, his production and playing time slowly started dwindling down. This most recent offseason, he signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Milwaukee Bucks, so I'm very interested to see how he performs. He's still very young at just 25 years old, so hopefully he'll be able to stay healthy and get back to the level of play he was at just a few seasons ago, but only time will tell. For the next player, we've got the first big man in this 2017 Duke class with forward Wendell Carter Jr. out of Pace Academy. Rated as a 5-star recruit, number 5 for his position, and number 10 in the country, Wendell was hyped up for being one of the most versatile big men in the class, with his ability to dominate in the paint, as well as being able to step out to the perimeter and make threes. In his senior year for Pace Academy, he put up strong averages of 22 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks a game, en route to being named Georgia's Gatorade Player of the Year. And after signing with Duke, many people projected him to come in and make an immediate impact as a freshman. And that's exactly what he ended up doing, earning the starting power forward spot right out of the gate and going on to average 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game. And after his very impressive freshman season, Wendell was seen as one of the top prospects for the 2018 draft. And after declaring, he'd go on to be selected by the Chicago Bulls with the 7th pick in the draft, with expectations of being one of their key pieces for the future. And during his first couple seasons with the Bulls, he certainly flashed tons of potential and was a double-double machine when he was on the court. The only issue, however, was that he wasn't really on the court very consistently, as he'd missed almost 80 games his first 2 years due to injury. Eventually, Wendell would be traded to the Orlando Magic, where he continued to show growth and put up solid numbers. However, issues with availability continue to be a concern. To this day, he has just 1 season where he's been available for more than 60 games, which is absolutely absurd. Hopefully moving forward, Wendell will be able to stay healthy because, as mentioned a couple times now, he looks like a very solid player when he's on the court, and I'd hate to see his career cut short due to injury. Getting near the end now, up next is a player that I'm sure many of you guys forgot about, and that's the point guard Trayvon Duval out of IMG Academy. In the 2017 class, Trayvon was rated as a 5-star recruit, the number 2 point guard, and the number 7 overall player in the country. And for those that remember, Trayvon was one of the most viral and hyped up players from the class, coming off a strong season at the prep school powerhouse IMG Academy, averaging 16 points and 7 assists per game. Not only that, but the man was an absolute highlight machine, with several mixtapes that brought in millions of views. So when he announced his decision to sign with Duke, there was a ton of excitement surrounding him, but also a lot of expectations. And after earning the starting point guard spot for the Blue Devils, he'd go on to have a very solid freshman season, putting up averages of 10 points, 5 assists, and 1 steal per game. Perhaps it was a little bit of a disappointing season considering all the hype he had coming out of high school, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of mouths to feed on this Duke team, so his opportunities were pretty limited. Nonetheless, after his freshman season, Trayvon would make the decision to declare for the 2018 NBA draft, a move which was seen as controversial to say the least amongst fans and experts. Many thought he would have benefited from staying another season in college and that he was making a big mistake, while others thought it was the right move. Either way though, his decision had been made, and in the 2018 draft, unfortunately for Trayvon, he would wind up going undrafted, becoming the first Duke one-and-done player in history to not be selected. He would, however, find his way onto a G League roster with the Wisconsin Herd, and even made an appearance in 3 NBA games with the Milwaukee Bucks in 2019, although not being much of a contributor. However, that would be the last time Trayvon would step foot on an NBA floor, as he'd proceed to bounce around a couple different G League rosters before deciding to begin his professional career internationally. He'd go on to play in various international leagues in Canada, the Dominican Republic, Turkey, and now currently plays for the Sabah Basketball Club in the Azerbaijan Basketball League. And lastly, coming in as the highest rated recruit in this 2017 Duke class is the big man Marvin Bagley, hailing from Sierra Canyon High School. Not only was Marvin rated as a 5-star recruit and the #1 player for his position, but he was ranked as the #1 player in the country coming out of high school. And looking at his average of 24 points and 10 assists alongside his electrifying highlights, it's easy to see why those rankings are justified. During his recruiting process, he was obviously recruited by every school in the country, and even after signing with a loaded Duke squad, he was still expected to dominate at the college level and be a future top pick in the NBA draft. And in his freshman year at Duke, he was every bit as dominant as people expected him to be, putting up averages of 21 points and 11 rebounds a game. Him and Wendell Carter made up arguably the best front court in all of college basketball, and similar to Wendell, Bagley was looked at as one of the top prospects in the 2018 draft, with many even projecting him as the #1 pick. He would, however, fall just short of being the top pick, as he'd go on to be selected 2nd overall in the draft by the Sacramento Kings, with many people expecting the duo of him alongside recently drafted De'Aaron Fox to be the future of the franchise. Unfortunately for the Kings, however, things just never really worked out with Bagley. He showed lots of promise and had decent production, but the combination of injuries and lack of overall development really prevented him from reaching all the expectations placed upon him. And after 3.5 underwhelming seasons in Sacramento, he'd eventually be traded away, and since then has never really been able to find his footing again in the NBA. He's had plentiful opportunities with different teams over the years, but once again, injuries and weaknesses in his game have just continued to plague him. As of now, Bagley is currently playing for the Washington Wizards, where he's seemingly been buried in the rotation, averaging just 6 minutes a game so far this season. Hopefully he'll be able to get some more opportunities and revive his career, but as of now, it seems like Bagley is going to go down as one of the bigger draft busts in recent memory. So that was every player from Duke's 2017 recruiting class and how their basketball careers have turned out so far. As you can see, there's been varying levels of success, with some going on to have productive NBA careers, others becoming huge draft busts, and a couple never even stepping foot on an NBA floor. For those curious how this 2017 Duke squad performed with all these recruits on the roster, they'd go on to finish the season with a 29-8 record, with Marvin Bagley leading the team in scoring and rebounding, with fellow freshmen Wendell Carter, Gary Trent Jr., and Trayvon Duval being heavy contributors as well, and they'd make it all the way to the Elite 8 of the NCAA tournament before being knocked out by the University of Kansas. So although not everyone from this freshman class would go on to have successful careers after college, there's no doubt that they certainly made a big impact during their time together at Duke. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel for more sports content. If you have any thoughts on the players in the video, or have suggestions for future videos, be sure to leave a comment down below. This is HCP signing off. As always, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm out. Peace.